I'm wondering what kind of advice you might give to somebody who is in education and is kind of approaching burnout, or would rather just not try and approach that at all and prevent any kind of burnout. Because there's a lot of educators that I know who are not teaching after just a few years. It's one of those fields where you're either in it for the long haul or you're in it for a pretty short term.
Yes, it is a challenging thing, teaching. And I think the loss of autonomy that we had when I first started
Hmm.
makes it harder. There's nothing more painful than knowing what you need to do to help some children and not being able to do it. And I think that causes burnout.
Yep.
I think another part of burnout is social media and email and connections happen 24 hours a day. And we aren't good about putting up boundaries and saying, yeah, you can email me, parents, but I'm not answering on the weekends. Or I turn off my work email at 5 o'clock and I'm 100% family time or me time or whatever that is. And I've worked in grad education. I taught graduate school. But we haven't done a good job of helping new teachers come in understanding it's okay to have boundaries.
Hmm.
And I think that that's part of it. I think another part of that is that we also have, well, it's probably a controversial thing to say, but I'll say it anyway. I think we've also have some things out there that make it seem like some things are more important than they really are. So I call it the teachers pay teachers syndrome, but it isn't just teachers pay teachers, but the classroom needs to be beautiful and perfect, and every piece of paper should have a beautiful font and a nice border, and we should do big projects for big holidays where the kids are doing big things to take home to families. And all of those pressures may not be productive. And I think that it's about helping each other and ourselves make choices about where we expend our energy. Does sometimes feel like a little bit of a competition for who has, at least in elementary school, the cutest room,
Yeah.
or the cutest blog. I think that all need to learn and have the freedom to say not now, or that's not my passion point. This is what I'm working on, or whatever. And I'm not to say that it's not okay. It's not good to have cute and good and well designed, because it does matter. But I think there's some pressures that are new that weren't around not too long ago.
Yeah, and one of your earlier points about disconnecting from the job or the pressures, that's so important. I try and only check my email twice a day, so like once in the morning and once in the afternoon, and I don't get any notifications on my phone. I'm signed out of all social media stuff, and I'll sign in once a day, check a couple of groups, see if there's anything I can respond to, and then I'm done. Sign out immediately afterwards. The more you can disconnect from it, the easier it's going to be to maintain your focus when you're in your leisure time, and then maintain your focus when you're not in your leisure time and actually working with kids.
And I think we need to model that for kids
Hmm.
too. So saying to your class, I'm leaving my phone off until lunchtime when I need to check it, or whatever it is. We have to be overt about that, not covert about that.
Hmm.
Let's face it, being online and social media is a two-headed dragon, right? On one side, it can provide support and
Hmm.
knowledge and resources. And the other side, it can make you feel inadequate or less than perfect. We're not always as supportive of each other as we could be.
Hmm.
And I think that's another piece. Like I said before, it can help those who are isolated, and we can give support to each other. But I think you're right about being able to say, I just don't do this 24 hours a day. But I think we also need to tell parents that.
Hmm.
Parents think that their kids are their 100% of their world, right? So they should have access to teachers all the time. And that is not a realistic expectation. And administrators as well. So I think that that's a whole new topic that I don't see widely discussed. And it's brought on the back of technology. So I think that we should be paying attention to it.
And for context, for people who are listening, my comment is this is coming from somebody who taught for a decade, 7 days a week. So I would teach elementary school in the mornings and afternoons. At night, I would teach drumline. On the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, I would teach private lessons or drumlines. So I very rarely disconnected. And I've learned over this time that it's okay to set these boundaries, and it's okay to have that points of disconnection and just do something for yourself.
Well, and I'd go beyond that and say it's more than just okay. It's preferable
Yeah, it's
because you
necessary.
cannot be 100% for everybody everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
And that one of the reasons why we see this growth in schools banning technology that kids have in their pockets is because they're not present in the learning in a classroom. But we haven't modeled any of those boundaries and behaviors. And so it's not surprising that that's the way it is. It is the nature of the design of the technology, the mobile technology, to keep you engaged with it as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to acknowledge that and make decisions. Now remember, I'm old school. I've been around a long time, and we used to worry about bookworms. Kids who wouldn't engage because they always had their head in a book. And now, wouldn't that be awesome? We think that would be a really great thing if kids would be. But I just a little. But I do think that if we model uses, collaborative, cooperative uses of technologies, and if we model saying, okay, take out your phone and let's figure out this math problem. Use your calculator on your phone or whatever in high school. Now let's put it away. We're going to talk about this, or we're going to do this other thing. We're not going to use them. And we can start to model those boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that in the early learning that everything needs to be done technologically. I think there are times when crayons and paints and mud and tricycles are better choices. But we need to make sense of that, and we need to label it as such,